Auburn Tigers have another commitment in the 2025 class. An offensive tackle is headed our way. His name, Carde Smith. Let's talk about this. This is your early analysis reaction live stream with us here at E2C Network. Let's get into it. All the things you need to know and more about this new commitment and recruit. War Eagle Auburn family and a special War Eagle, and welcome to those of you that consider yourselves part of the E2C Network family. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you are watching live or you're on the replay, however you got here, whenever you got here. We appreciate you being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. For you today on this live stream, we are talking recruiting. It's been a minute since we've really dove heavily into recruiting talk. We've had a lot going on out there, but we're finally in the period of time where we can start talking a little bit more recruiting. Well, spring practice is done, but that doesn't mean the excitement has ended. Recruiting is already starting to pick up. Your new commitment for the Tigers in the 2025 class, number 10 overall currently, and that is Carde Smith, offensive lineman, supposed offensive tackle, coming to be part of the Tigers 2025 class. This is going to be an early analysis live stream and a reaction stream of sorts. We are operating off what we know currently and what we can talk about currently with this commitment, the implications of it, and we want to dive into a bunch of different things. As is typically the case when we do these videos, we will come back later and do some more thorough, well thought out informational type of video for you, not necessarily a live stream, but this is just so that everybody can have an opportunity to talk about this. And because this is a reaction stream, so I want to hear from you as well. You can start off by making sure you smash the like button right now in the chat or in the comments section. Let us know as well if you're here, where you're watching from with a War Eagle. We'd like to know who's hanging out with us. And of course, your thoughts about this commitment, what it potentially means for the Tigers, what it means for this commitment, all of the things that you want to discuss surrounding this particular person. So let's talk about it. Let me give you some information about him first. Just some over the top, general need to know information about this commitment for the Tigers. And now this is an aggregate of all the information that you can find out there across many different sites, whether you're looking at 24/7, you're looking at On3, Rivals, all this. I mean, they're everywhere. Okay. This is just an aggregate average of what I found out there, the general need to know. What is he? An offensive lineman, Carde Smith from Williamson High School, Mobile, Alabama. Something to talk about there. He's currently listed somewhere between 6'5" to 6'6", somewhere in the 290-ish to 300 range. It just ranged somewhere in that. All nice measurables, which puts him in an offensive tackle type of category, at least traditionally what we think of in terms of measurables. If you care about stars, we always stress that you don't focus too much on them, but they are a part of the conversation. He is a consensus 4-star across all the major sites, I believe. I don't think I've found one yet that disagrees with him being a 4-star prospect out of Alabama. Obviously, an area of need for the Tigers. Dive into that in just a little bit too. And this is becoming a class that the Hugh Freeze has really gone full scale at early in the 2025 class, making it a priority, which should make Auburn Tigers fans feel a lot more comfortable about. A lot of other big programs out there had interest in this guy. Two of note, or really one of note. I'll throw them both out there. Florida State, Mississippi State, many others were ones that a lot of people thought had the best crack at this guy. I will say this, him being from Mobile and being able to fight off a Florida State who is literally just a few hundred miles, I guess, away, just down the panhandle, is a tall task and should not be ignored in terms of what it takes to bring in these guys when you've got to fight regional battles, not just in-state battles, not just rival battles, not just conference battles, but regional battles that are even outside of your conference, like a Florida State. And let's be honest, right now, Florida State's a program that is doing very well, and it is not hard to make the case to go there. So the Tigers win one here, at least in getting the initial commitment. What matters most is getting the commitment to sign, early signing or not. We will see if that continues to happen. Again, out of the state of Alabama, Hugh Freeze has shown a really a good job in terms of focusing on recruiting in state since he got here. in the 2024 class, but also now into the 2025 class as well, especially those offensive linemen recruits right now. Other information outside of this prospect, because obviously, I mean, you can go look at tape for him. You can go look at his team's tape and take stuff away from that. That'll be for his junior season because he hasn't played his senior year right now. But let's talk about what we can take away for the class right now. Currently, 10 total commitments and the 4th offensive lineman in this class. I've looked at all 4 of these guys thus far, and I think you could say, yes, 3 of them are probably offensive tackles. 1 is an interior offensive lineman, and then the other is there's 1 that you could probably make a case could slide into interior as well. Here's the thing: if all 4 of these guys play when their time comes at Auburn at the same time, if they're all still there, somebody's going to have to find a different position. I think there's 1 you can make a case for there. But 4 offensive linemen in a time when Auburn is really going to need to stock up on those offensive linemen. It's very, very important if we look at some of the depth chart things, which we're getting to in just a second. 10 total commitments right now. If you look at some sites, they'll have them as high as 7 right now, their class rank. Some have them 9. I've seen a little bit lower, but basically it's a top 10 class early in the process. And it's been that way for quite some time. Hover around the top 5 of the SEC. Isn't it? It's not sad, but isn't it just interesting the fact that you can be top 10 in the country, but, you know, just in the top 5 in the SEC when you think about how well the SEC recruits and what you've got to compete against. So again, restating how big a deal this is for the Tigers, because some people will get focused on about stars and ratings and things like that and not think about just what the needs are and what kind of battles you're winning. And that's sometimes even more important than just, I would argue, mostly more important than the stars. Now that I've looked across a couple of other sites, I am seeing there's one site that has them as a 3-star. So there you go, a little bit of correction there. So I fight off the allergies a little bit. So 10 total guys. Your other offensive lineman to keep in mind, Tavares Dice, who committed back on March 14th. You also had Tay Buster, who committed back on March 22nd, an interior offensive lineman. And then way back in September, Spencer Dallin, right at the beginning of the season, from Athens, Alabama, he committed. So that's your 4 current offensive linemen committed into this class. Last bit of information, and then I want to talk to you guys, see what you think, any final opinions, questions, thoughts that you have about this particular individual, because again, this is just a initial analysis and reaction video giving you some information to know. Let's talk about what it means for Auburn. We've already talked about the implications for the class. Where are they heading? In terms of answering that question, I don't think we've done yet, to quote to quote a lot of people these days, but to quote Javon Reed, we ain't done yet, because I think there's going to be some spaces opening up even beyond the 4 that we currently have. So I think there are at least another, if not more, to come. If you look at currently the supposed depth chart, the people who are here, you're looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential across the starting and backups, the supposed starting and backups on the offensive line that are either seniors, redshirt seniors, transfer seniors, all of the combination of that, because there's still COVID years. I hope this is the last year we're dealing with all this. So you are likely, at least potentially, losing 6 people across that. So you can understand why this is the next big wave problem. If you think back to a few other years, a lot of the questions that were being asked, why isn't Auburn recruiting more offensive linemen? Because and you do always need tons of those. Sometimes the numbers aren't there for what you actually can have space for. This year, we got the space. Thus, the 4 that have already been committed, and probably many more to come. Haven't really watched any tape on this guy to actually tell you where he might fall into the chart. We always expect these guys to at least not play much, if redshirt their first year. I would say that's probably the same for offensive linemen, given what our needs are when they arrive. I think there's a really good crop of offensive linemen that are about to take over. Connor Liu's one that's young, that's already taken over that spot. You've still got Tyler Johnson, Braden Joyner, Dylan Cinda, EJ Harris around, who's still got plenty of time left with the team, and many others that we're not even talking about that just got there. So this is the next wave to begin to build up that next crop of depth for the Tigers going forward in their offensive line play. So that is a bit of the initial information for you, the things that you would be most interested in knowing about him, about what it means for the class, what it means for Auburn going forward, all based on what we know right now. What are some other thoughts that you all have about this guy? We can answer some questions here to round out our show, or just take some topics. And I've seen we've got a few already. We'll take those. But let me give you some reminders as we transition to that part of the show. What we got coming up. This is more for people watching live or very quickly before these things take place, because today is a very busy day as it was yesterday. We have got plenty of live stream action for you tonight. We have got everything you need to know about Auburn to Nike. Clint Richardson is in the house with us from Auburn Uniform Database at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Watch it live. If you see this replay, check that out on the replay. We're going to have a good chat with him and Q&A session with him. But then right after that, our Auburn Family Night call-in show at 8. So that is 7 p.m. Eastern. And then right after that, 8 p.m. Eastern time. They may even overflow just a little bit. Keep that in mind for all of the content purposes that are today and things that you can check out if you're watching this on the replay. Jackson says that we got pushed up to number 7 in the class of 2025, and you're going to see it change over time. So my advice to everybody is not to get super excited about where you're at currently, because A, we know the class is not full. B, we know other people are going to lose / add people, and that's going to move up and down. But where Auburn has already positioned itself is a great start. You want to be in the top 10 of the entire conference, the entire college football landscape, but you also want to be in the top 5 in your conference minimum. And Auburn has positioned themselves to be there currently right now. And we ain't done yet. And I know, as Jackson said here, finally love getting all of these offensive linemen. It is nice to see that coming in. I know a lot of people have really, really wanted that. The spring transfer portal is opening up Saturday too, so we might get some more players from the portal. And so that's part of this process too. When we answer the question, what does this commitment mean for obviously what we know now for the class as we head forward? Yes, I think even with 4 offensive linemen now in the high school portion of this, recruiting wise, you're still going to probably add some for the current year going forward, because these guys won't play till 2025, obviously being part of the 2025 class, but you're probably going to add a few as well. I would give you a reminder. So Dylan Senda was brought in at the very last second of fall practice starting last year from Northwestern. And I think a lot of people forgot that changed the dynamics, at least supposedly so, what we were and weren't going to take in the upcoming cycle, because we brought him in. He was basically a fresh recruit that never played at Northwestern because of what they had going on. So keep that in mind as we keep marching forward in the recruiting cycle. Perry says Freeze had to recruit offensive line because Harsin never tried to. I disagree with this notion a little bit. I will say that Harsin did himself no favors in the recruiting realm. I won't disagree with you there, but there's been a lot of very misinformed and very emotional conversation around offensive line recruiting that I think sometimes needs to be talked about a lot. And we've talked about it a lot here on this. So I'm disagreeing with parts of what you're saying, Perry. And I'm not necessarily trying to defend Harsin. I just think sometimes we take the shots that are easiest, even if they're not the correct shots to take. Here's what we do know. The offensive line play at Auburn has not been good for a long, long time. And there are reasons behind that. Some that are you probably think are the easy reasons, but not necessarily all the case. A lot of people celebrating. Good to see WT. Always good to see offensive line recruits. I think anytime we see an offensive line recruit these days, everybody just puts a smile on their face. They don't even care really at this point what kind of star or anything. It's just like, oh, yes, offensive line recruit at this point. So I know this is something that just makes people happy. It's easy to say that the skill positions, your wide receivers, your quarterbacks, your linebackers, running backs, they always get the looks, the eyes, all that kind of stuff. But this is where you're able to make your difference in college football and football in general, because it is a game of inches. Final thoughts, questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals that are productive. I've had to add that lately. That you want to put in about this particular commitment, Carde, excuse me, I keep want to call him Carde Smith. I think he goes by Schmitty from what I've seen on his social media, and what his commitment means for the class currently, means for Auburn football heading forward. Anything final there, your final reminders, smash the like button if you haven't done so. It's a huge help to let people know that we were live, that they should check out this content. As I reminded you earlier, if you are watching this live or very quickly after, join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time and 8 for plenty of other Auburn content. And you can also watch the replays if you missed the live for those as well. And of course, always make sure you are subscribing here. That is going to be our live stream early analysis of your latest commitment, number 10 currently commit for the Tigers, Carde Smith, offensive lineman, likely offensive tackle, coming in for the 2025 class. I appreciate you all hanging out with me, whether you're live or on the replay, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.